Good morning, everyone. Well, it is my pleasure this morning to introduce Phelim McAleer, who's a journalist, film producer, and director. His most recent film is Gosnell, a ripped-from-the-headline story about the respected Dr. Kermit Gosnell, who ran a medical clinic in an impoverished Philadelphia neighborhood. But behind the doors of his clinic, the smiling, avuncular Kermit Gosnell was also America's most prolific serial killer. A Philadelphia grand jury report in 2011 described Gosnell's West Philadelphia clinic as, quote, a house of horrors, detailing the gruesome occurrences there that would make any caring person respond with tears and anger. As the grand jury report stated, countless numbers of viable late-term babies were born alive, only to be put to death by Gosnell by a barbaric process he called snipping. The cousin of a Pennsylvania state representative died from complications from a botched abortion performed by Gosnell, and she was not the only one. And yet, this was a story that didn't fit the script for the mainstream media, which largely ignored the wrongdoing of Kermit Gosnell. Thankfully, though, pro-life legislators in Harrisburg, including some present here, did not ignore what happened in West Philadelphia, and despite the objections and aggressive lobbying of groups like Planned Parenthood and the ACLU, in 2012, these legislators passed a sensible law requiring inspections and health and safety guidelines that led to the closing of at least 5 abortion clinics in Pennsylvania that could not meet those common sense standards. Also, for background on this topic, those of you might be interested in going to a website called 3801lancaster.com, 3801lancaster.com. You can find out more about the Gosnell story there. Well, our speaker this morning was incensed at the way the Gosnell trial was being purposely ignored by the news media, and that entire story being ignored, and he knew this was a story that must be told. Apparently, a lot of people agreed with him because the crowdfunding for the Gosnell movie he was determined to make was the most successful Indiegogo campaign ever. More than 26,500 people funded the film, contributing more than $2.25 million in 45 days. Phelim McAleer is the director and producer of Frack Nation, a documentary on hydraulic fracturing, or as they call it, fracking, and the natural gas boom in the U.S. and abroad. The New York Times called the film meticulously researched and provocative. He's also the director and producer of Not Evil, Just Wrong, a feature documentary examining the devastating consequences of global warming hysteria, and Mind Your Own Business, the first documentary that asks difficult questions of the environmental movement. Phelim McAleer regularly appears on Fox News, CNN, and the BBC, and has been interviewed on over 100 U.S. and international radio stations. He is also a frequent contributor to Andrew Breitbart's Big Hollywood, Glenn Beck's The Blaze, and the New York Post. McAleer produces and directs documentaries with his wife, Ann McElhenney, who has spoken here at past Pennsylvania leadership conferences. A leftist blogger recently described Phelim and his wife, Ann, as, quote, poster children for the decline of American morality. Please welcome Phelim McAleer.